altitude. Please put your body, mind, and soul in the upright position. We hope you enjoy the ride.
Welcome to WAYSPACE. This is it. Here we are. Let's be here now. Hello. How are you doing? I'm a little late to this one. I usually like to release the episodes of the podcast at around like 9 a.m. Monday morning, but I'm recording this at 3:30 p.m. Monday right now, and I think that is a very apt way to describe my mental state at this period. I feel like I'm in the midst of sort of procrastinatory energy, if that makes sense, if you can resonate with what it's like to procrastinate, because I don't think procrastination dies at the end of high school or at the end of college or at the end of homework assignments. I think it, at least for me, it shows up here and there when I'm resisting. You know, it's like a resistance point. And I don't really know exactly why I'm resisting per se, but I think I've just, you know, for example, so some things that are going on with me, because we're talking about sort of my, I guess, awareness, my mental state, where my spiritual practice is, that kind of involves my whole life. And I think going forward with the podcast, I'm going to be sort of just updating myself with how I'm doing and kind of getting into a place where I'm able to express how I'm doing regardless of what's going on. And right now, basically, I'm sort of ramping up, getting ready for shows. I have a show tomorrow. It's my first So Far Sounds show, which So Far Sounds is sort of an acoustic style stripped back concert series that I fucking love. Like, it's so amazing, but it is a show coming back, and it's my first official show since I changed my name, since I changed sort of the scope of what I'm doing here as an artist. And then I have another show coming up at the end of August, and I have a music release on Friday, and it's just a lot of stuff that are sort of have become like tasks. And it's not always super clear when something goes from, oh, I'm doing this because I love it and I enjoy it and it's fun, to it being like a task that I'm now procrastinating against, resisting. You know, I think procrastination for me, like I was saying, is resistance. And yeah, I think today, in today's podcast, I want to think about resistance points and how they manifest for me. And maybe there's something in it that will resonate with a part of your experience with resistance and when you can feel that you're resisting something. And that's not to say that if we're resisting something, that means we don't want to do it. I think I do want to play these shows, you know, but maybe what I'm resisting is the change that is inevitable. That what does playing a show mean for me now? It means a change in the way that I think about my schedule. It means a change in how I relate to my brand as an artist. It's a change in how I handle my merch. And it means going through my old John Rome merch and taking the stuff out that I'm not going to bring to the show because it's, you know, the branding just is not there anymore, and figuring out how I'm going to do it. A lot of these things that I guess have they're sort of, I don't know, they have like a tinge of sadness. Is tinge the right word? You know what I mean? Like a hint of sadness, a hint of loss and of grief, where I have to kind of look at, like looking at old pictures of me and my friends when I was 10 or something. You know, it's like you love it and you appreciate it, but it's also a little sad because you're not that anymore. It's now a different part of your life. And I think that's something that I just haven't really given myself a lot of time to deal with, is a lot of the changes that I decided to make over the course of the pandemic. And that's been something that has affected the way that I feel as an artist. You know, it's been different. I've been an artist that is mostly online now. I'm live streaming. I'm creating this podcast. I'm doing a lot of things that have been really wonderful to me. And now it's time to integrate all this stuff I've been doing into what I was doing before. And yeah, that change is, it's interesting for me. It's been something that, I don't know, it's just been kind of difficult in some ways and challenging. And I'm not really sure how else to talk about it, but I definitely feel that it's having an effect on the way that I feel able to sort of meet the moment and meet sort of the commitments that I feel like I'm committed to. Basically, the activities, the people in my life that I love, all of these things that feel like now they're like swirling around me, and I'm all of a sudden it's like I'm caught in moments where I'm worried, oh shit, have I fallen back into like previous like versions of myself, sort of, where before I had a sense of peace and that kind of thing. It's been an interesting process, and I feel more easily distracted. I feel a little less centered, and I think that's been a little bit difficult, and yeah, and I'm not really sure how else to go about it. I think today is going to be a short episode. Yeah, and because I think where I'm at right now is I need the space and time to kind of figure out where my head's at and what's going to happen going forward. And I realize I think last week's episode was called A Path Forward, and I'm in the midst of trying to step forward, and that's been an interesting experience to have. Yeah. And I think, where I'm at now is I'm trying to have faith in myself. I'm trying to figure out, okay, I have a lot of different spiritual practices that I'm dealing with at the moment that feel like, I don't know, like I was open to them and I was like, ooh, yeah, I'm flexible. This is great. But when it comes down to it, maybe it's worth me getting disciplined about a particular practice again and being a little bit more one-track minded. So I've been thinking about that as well. Yeah. And so before I go, because today I know is a short episode and I appreciate you listening and checking it out. And I think, thinking about this podcast and wanting it to be sustainable, I've got to make it work for me when I need it to work for me in the ways that it can. So sometimes it'll be short episodes, sometimes it'll be hour-long episodes. But I think that what I want to leave us with before I go today is that if there's a practice that has worked for you really well for you in the past and feels good, don't be afraid to continue doing it. It's okay to leave it and then come back to it. Like this morning, I did an hour of sitting meditation and it was incredible and felt wonderful. And I felt this pressure to go on and do the other practices and visualizations and things like that. And it just felt like, God damn it, like I just need to get my bearings, And I think that the ability to simplify your practice for the sake of reminding yourself why you're doing it and what can be so beneficial about it is totally worthwhile. And so if there's something in your life that is really beneficial to you, even if it feels like, maybe it's not, to bring it in a skateboarding metaphor, even if it's maybe you go out and you just work on your kick flips some more, even though you can kick flip, instead of trying to just do tray flips the whole time, that can be really beneficial to come back to the fundamentals and do what's important to you and remind yourself what's important to you. So yeah, I think bringing things back to the basics can be really helpful sometimes. And in some cases, how else am I going to learn how to tray flip if I don't have a sense of how to kick flip? I mean, people do it, but, and that's possible. But I think for me, I've always really benefited from being able to let myself come back to the basics and have a sense of what the fundamentals are in what I'm doing. So yeah. So it's a short episode today. it'll probably be a much longer one next week. I think I'm glad I did this rather than just taking the week off, because I was feeling like, oh, maybe I should just take the week off and let myself off the hook. But in some ways, I think letting myself do a short episode and updating you as best I can right now is the best way to let myself off the hook and remind myself that, like, this is cool. Like, this is a podcast that's going to continue for a long time, and I'm going to make it work as best I can. And so that, I'll be around, and I'll see you around, and I'll hear you around. So with that being said, I'll talk to you next week. I hope you have a great week. I hope you're hanging in there. If you're interested in meditating, I'll be meditating, so we can do it together but separately. All right. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Here's to remembering who we are. Peace.